Question. I have recently picked up your A Course in Abundance books, and it answers all of my questions about manifesting the abundant life. My question is regarding the manifestation teacher known as Neville Goddard, who brought forth the so-called law of assumption, teachings and ideas, whereby he states that whatever you assume becomes your reality and experience, and that everyone is you pushed out concept to reprogram the subconscious mind to give you what you want, and all that through various methods such as affirmations, visualization, script writing, vision boards, and what Neville himself called SATs, state akin to sleep, whereby as you fall asleep you visualize the outcome that you want as it sinks deep into your subconscious mind and eventually becomes your reality. It has turned into a large community, and people become coaches on YouTube and share their experiences of manifesting their dream life and shifting their reality. I sense that this is all coming from separate selves. Many of them outright deny free will. The everyone is you pushed out is a concept whereby everyone around you reflects your subconscious beliefs. And once you purge those subconscious beliefs and reprogram your subconscious with a new set of beliefs, automatically the people around you reflect the new subconscious beliefs. What is your take or perspective on this whole law of assumption and the ideas brought forth by Neville Goddard? Well, the law of assumption is not exactly the same, but it's similar to the law of attraction. And I've done another video on the law of attraction, which you might want to watch also. But what I will say here is that there is a whole, what could we call it, movement, culture that goes back. There's law of attraction, law of assumption, there is a positive mental attitude, Napoleon Hill, there's the New Thought movement, and it really started becoming prominent in the 1800s. And it's my understanding that it was originally inspired by the Ascended Masters. And so there's definitely some very valid ideas in this entire, what could we call it, a culture. But there are also some pitfalls, so let's try and look at them. The basic idea of the entire movement can be illustrated in this way. This is a mirror. So if I look at the mirror and I want my mirror image to smile at me, what do I have to do? Well, I have to smile at the mirror. If I go like this, my mirror image is never going to smile at me. So this is essentially what all of these movements are saying, which is what the masters are saying in this age. The universe is the cosmic mirror. And it can only reflect back to us what we are projecting out. And when you look back, since the 1800s, when these ideas started to come out, you can see that many people have used it to change their attitude to life. And you can see also that in society in general, there is a gradual shift where people are becoming more open to the importance of psychology, the powers of the mind, and the fact that really everything in our lives revolves around our psychology. It starts and ends with our psychology. Why are human beings the way we are? Why do we do the things we do? It's all a matter of psychology. So what the masters are seeking to do in this age, because this is a necessary step towards the manifestation of a new and better age, is to help people begin to accept that the physical world is not just some world that is created either by an almighty God in heaven or by laws of nature that are unconscious and random. It's actually, we are living in an interactive world where we are, as the masters said, we are co-creators. And we are within the parameters set by the Ascended Masters, we are co-creating our own reality. And the Masters have talked about there are natural planets where you don't have the poverty and the lack and the conflicts that you see on Earth. But Earth is an unnatural planet, and it's an unnatural planet precisely because most people on Earth are still in this state of mind, which we can call the immersion phase, where they believe that we live in a world that is not affected by our thoughts. Therefore, we are not responsible for our circumstances collectively. And what the Masters are trying to help us see is that we have on Earth, we have collectively co-created not only the state of conflict, but even the state of lack, even the lack of natural resources. So this whole movement is very important in terms of shifting people's attitude to life on Earth, to the physical realm that we are living in. So what I'm saying is there's a valid foundation for this entire movement. And it's very important that people are participating in it and changing their attitude to the physical world, to the matter realm. But there's a certain thing you can observe, because I have been involved with this myself through Napoleon Hill and positive mental attitude, and I know people who have tried all kinds of things. I've seen that over the last 48 years. And what you can observe is that there are many people that find this kind of ideas, they really go into it, they really commit to it, they really apply the tools and do the treasure maps and this and that, but the majority of them don't get the results that are promised. A few people do, and what you see in some of these cultures is that people repeat the success stories over and over and over again. So they're building on this. It's almost like a multi-level marketing scheme where you have a few people that can say, oh, got really rich by selling this product. And it's very true. They got rich because everybody else was doing the work that funneled all the money upwards to the top in the scheme. So I'm just saying, there are a few people that got really rich, and now there's a culture where some people are making money off of teaching this. And they have to teach the success stories. They need the success stories, so they are sort of promoting those. And again, it's not that it's completely invalid. I'm just saying, if you observe what's actually happening, most people don't get the results, and therefore you have to ask yourself why. And what the people who teach this will say, oh, people weren't committed enough, they weren't really believing, they didn't really reprogram their subconscious mind, they really didn't change. And I just think that when you look at how long this phenomenon has been going, how many people have been involved with it, I don't think that's a sufficient explanation. It's too superficial. I know you can always say positive mental attitude. If you weren't positive enough, you won't get the results. But you also have Einstein, who said if you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, you are insane. So when does positive mental attitude become pathetic mental attitude? Because you're just mindlessly repeating this and you don't see the results. So if you don't see the results, you have to ask yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to say there's something wrong with the whole idea. But what I'm saying is that you have to look for a deeper explanation. And deeper explanation is, as I explained in my video about law of attraction and in many of my videos, that we have these structures in the subconscious mind. So basically you can say, if the universe is a mirror, right, it can only reflect back what I'm sending out. But we are sending two different messages into the cosmic mirror. We're sending one message with a conscious mind and another message with a subconscious mind. And they are very often not the same message. So you could say, but what about the people who really got results? Well, that's because for a variety of reasons, they had reached a point where they had resolved enough of the subconscious structures in previous lifetimes or in this lifetime that they were sending out a consistent message with their conscious, subconscious minds. But the people who don't get the results, it's because they're sending out an inconsistent, a conflicting message. So, and this, of course, is because we all have in our subconscious mind what I, in many of my videos, call these subconscious selves, which is more than just a belief. And I think that's where the law of assumption, for example, talks about you have to identify negative beliefs and replace them with positive beliefs. But it just isn't enough for most people. Because a negative belief is not just a belief, it's a self that has taken on almost a life of its own. It has a survival instinct. So it has the ability to pull on your conscious mind. And so what many people do when they go into these teachings is with their conscious minds, they're creating a new subconscious self in addition to the one they already have. And it's seeking to suppress the negative beliefs rather than resolving them. And as a result of that, you become what Jesus called a house divided against itself. And another quote from Jesus that comes to mind here is Jesus said, "Fear not, a little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." And there are some of these teachings that will refer to that as well. So what we have to realize here is that it is natural for us to have the abundant life. So why don't we have it? Because we have these subconscious selves that are actually pushing it away, that are blocking it from flowing into our lives. So you can see what I'm saying. Some people go in and they try to create a new subconscious self to fight or suppress the subconscious selves that are blocking abundance. But you're just creating more tension. And you see many of these people who, when they don't get the results they expect, they become very tense. They become extra eager. They apply it even more. And they're just building more and more tension. So what I'm saying is there comes a point where you just have to say, if I'm not getting the results, there must be something in my subconscious mind that's blocking me from getting these results. And therefore I have to look at it. And that's what I have many videos where I talk about subconscious selves. I have breakthrough videos where I talk about how to resolve them. And so you can find that if you're interested in this. And so you see what I'm saying here. There's validity to the ideas. But if you approach it from this subconscious perspective, you're not going to get the results. Now, another thing, of course, is that these movements generally, they want to appeal to a larger an audience as possible. And in the West, that means you don't talk about reincarnation. But of course, when you recognize reincarnation, you realize that we have had many lifetimes before this one where we have created subconscious selves in reaction to the condition we faced. And look at the past. Look how many societies had. The general population were very poor and only a small elite were very rich. Today, in the Western world, a large part of the population have reached at least some affluence. But you just go back a few lifetimes and you could have spent entire lifetimes living as a very poor person. So this means you could have built subconscious selves to have this, to deal with this. And you might feel that you're not worthy or you don't deserve to be rich or it's not possible for you to be rich because you're not born into a certain family or whatever. So what I'm saying is before you unravel these selves, you can't really get the results from it because you are just sending, again, two messages, one with the conscious, one with the subconscious mind. Another thing that we need to look at as spiritual people is that many spiritual people, and myself included, I can see it very clearly in myself, we actually don't want to be rich. We don't want to have a lot of money. And therefore we have subconscious selves that could very well be blocking this. And you see in many of these law of attraction, law of assumption, positive mental attitude, that people buy into this idea that if you just have enough money, all your problems will be solved. You will automatically be happy if you have enough money. And if you look at billionaires today, you can see that's not the case. It's simply a fallacy. Because they have more problems and they have more tension than the average person. So I think people are buying into this culture there where they're just focusing on the money instead of looking at what is it I really want in life. Is it really just money or do I want a certain lifestyle? For me, for example, I don't want to work just to make money. I never liked working just to make money. I always wanted to have a work that provided a service to other people and then just make enough money to keep doing the work as a result of that. And this is what I've had since 2002, partly because I used these ideas to change my attitude. But I did this in a deeper way than just, I went into various forms of therapy and really work deeply on my psychology. So this is part of it. And then we have the concept of a life plan that I've also talked about in a couple of my breakthrough videos. Is it in your life plan to have lots of money, or is it in your life plan to live a more spiritual lifestyle in order to demonstrate that you can be a spiritual person who's living in society? So, you know, I think there's a valid foundation for these movements, but people in their focus on just material wealth and in focus on just creating a positive belief instead of resolving the negative beliefs, it becomes superficial. And therefore they don't get the results that they want. Now the questioner says here that I sense that this is all coming from separate selves. Many of them outright deny free will. And that's obviously a major problem, because if you deny free will, how are you going to resolve your psychology? I mean, seriously. Let's say here, you discover, I have some beliefs in my subconscious mind that are blocking my abundance. What's the way to unblock your abundance? It is to overcome those beliefs. What's the way to overcome those beliefs? It is to realize, oh, I accepted those beliefs. I created those subconscious selves. And because I created them, I have the power to uncreate them. I don't have to wait for some miracle or some savior from the outside. I can look directly at the beam in my own eye. I can resolve it because I created it. This is the magic of what the masters are giving this teaching, where I say the core of your being is the conscious you, which is not the outer personality. The outer personality is made up of all these beliefs, subconscious selves that we have created in order to first take embodiment on earth, but also in response to being an embodiment on earth for a long time. So, but the outer, and the conscious you has created these subconscious selves, which means it can also uncreate them. In other words, you are not a victim of it. So what you see in some of these movements, law of attraction, law of assumption, positive mental attitude, is that it's like they don't really want to look deeply into the psychology. They want a superficial, a quick and easy way to manifest riches, because then they think all their problems are going to be solved. And that's why they don't get the results. If you really want the results, you have to acknowledge that it's about resolving your psychology, and the reason you can resolve your psychology is you chose to create that subconscious self. And that means you can choose to uncreate it, but you have to choose consciously, and you can only choose consciously when you look into the subconscious mind. And then the question also says, the everyone is you pushed out is a concept whereby everyone around you reflects your subconscious beliefs. And once you purge those subconscious beliefs and reprogram your subconscious with a new set of beliefs, automatically the people around you reflect the new subconscious beliefs. And there is, of course, a certain validity to it, in the sense that whatever subconscious selves you have, you will attract people to you who have similar subconscious selves. May not be the same, because subconscious selves are created out of duality, so there's always a polarity. So you can actually attract people who have subconscious selves that seem to be the opposite of yours, but they're just the opposite dualistic polarity. And it's clear that if you change this, what you have in your subconscious mind, you will attract a new kind of people to you. I mean, I have actually experienced in my life several times that I became aware that I had a very strong reaction to certain people. And I realized that I had attracted this kind of people to me several times in my life. And then I looked at, what is the lesson I need to learn from attracting these people? And when I resolved that in my own psychology, not only did the people disappear that I was dealing with, but I didn't attract more people to me. So in other words, before I had learned the lesson, before I had resolved the psychology, I would just go from situation to situation but attract the same kind of people. After I learned the lesson, I didn't attract those kind of people to me anymore. So this is a valid enough principle, but it's just, I'm concerned about this idea that you reprogram your subconscious with a new set of beliefs. Because this very easily becomes, as I said, you have one subconscious self that attracts a certain kind of people to you. Now you create a new subconscious self to override the previous one. That's not resolution of psychology. The value is look at the negative belief you have, resolve that, and then you don't need to have a new belief to reprogram, because you will attract a different kind of people to you. You will find yourself in different situations. And the final thing I would say about this is that, for me, one of the most valuable things that came out of this, considering these ideas, I didn't really follow law of attraction or law of assumption, but I followed the Zen Master teachings. But the most valuable insight that came to me was that the universe acts like a mirror that can only reflect back what I'm projecting out. But I am projecting, in many cases, one message with a conscious mind and a contradictory message with a subconscious mind. And the only way to get beyond that is to look into the subconscious mind and stop projecting these limiting beliefs. And it went a little further than that, in the sense that I realized at some point that I was telling the universe what I wanted to experience, but I wasn't consciously aware of what I was telling the universe. But the universe was, and the universe was reflecting back to me what I subconsciously said that I wanted to experience. And I had to discover what I was sending out. And in some cases, now mind you this, in some cases, what I consciously believed that I wanted to experience was not the highest understanding of it. Because in reality, what I was sending into the cosmic mirror was, I want to learn a certain lesson about my psychology. And that's why I attracted certain people that would push my buttons, and I would react. But with my conscious mind, I was projecting, I don't want these kind of people in my life. I want them to go away. I don't want to deal with people who are upsetting me. But in reality, in my life plan, I wanted to deal with these kind of people until I had learned the lesson. So it isn't only that you have negative beliefs in the subconscious mind that are limiting you. You could actually have beliefs in your subconscious mind that are based on the vision you had before you came into embodiment, when you made your life plan, of what you wanted to overcome in your psychology, and what kind of situations you needed to put yourself in order to force yourself with a conscious mind to look at your psychology. Because many times, when we are in, it's one thing to be up there when we're not in embodiment. It's much easier to see what we need to learn. Then when we come down here, we're in a dense physical body, we're in our psychology, we're looking at everything from the inside. It's so easy to say, I just want to have an easy life, I don't want to deal with all these problems. But what you wanted to do before you came into embodiment was to force yourself to deal with the problems so you could get over them once and for all. And that's why I'm saying again, it's so important to resolve the psychology. And that's why I'm saying also, I have seen people who went into this positive mental attitude, law of attraction, whatever, and they decided, the only real goal in life was to have enough money. And this is how to get it. I'm going to create this positive vision, I'm going to follow all these steps, and it's just going to happen. And there were two things wrong with it. And the first one is that many spiritual people, they don't actually want this. This is not what we want. We don't want to be rich. But the other thing that's wrong with this approach is that many people, they think, if I just create a positive mental attitude, if I just create a vision board or a treasure map, magically, automatically, riches are going to fall in my lap. So they don't take practical steps to actually manifest abundance. I mean, how are you going to manifest abundance? Do you really believe it's going to fall from the sky? Or do you believe that in some cases you just have to get a job, or you have to start a business, or you have to provide some kind of service? Right? I mean, this is how, I know there are people who invest and seemingly make money out of nothing, but as a spiritual person, you don't want to tie yourself into this whole culture, something for nothing. The reality is, and this is Jesus' parable about the talents, the 3 servants who got different number of talents, and 2 multiplied them and 1 buried them in the ground. You multiply your talents. Whatever you have, whatever you do, you look at, what can I do for other people? How can I provide a service? And this is then how I'm going to manifest abundance. But I have to do something. I can't just sit there and look at my treasure map and not understand why it isn't just dropping in my lap. So there has to be a certain realism, and that's what you can see in some of these movements, is that they pull people into this vision or this mindset that, oh, it's just going to happen, it's just going to happen. And then when people go back out to their daily lives and it's not happening, well, they either try to push harder for a while and eventually they get disappointed and say, oh, it was all just nonsense. But it isn't nonsense. It's just that it's nonsense to think, because this is magical thinking, that it's just going to happen. You have to make it happen. You have to do something. The way I look at it is that it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But He's not going to just drop it. He's going to give it when you take the talents you have and multiply them. Then more is going to be added to you. So you have to do something for others. You have to provide some service for others. You can't just expect that it's going to magically appear. And I know there are people who are totally into thinking you can just manifest. And it's not that it's completely wrong, because on a natural planet, and I have a whole playlist about avatar psychology, we'll talk about beings who came to Earth from natural planets. On a natural planet, you can manifest, but Earth is an unnatural planet. It's a very dense planet. Just look at what's happening in the world. You can see how dense it is. And therefore, collectively, humankind has created this state of lack. That's why there's poverty. So you can't expect that on a dense planet like this, you can just manifest things out of thin air. It's far more realistic to say, what service can I provide? And then you take steps to provide that. And then your talents will be multiplied. You will be rewarded for multiplying your talents, you can say. So there's validity to the whole concept, but many people take it at a too superficial level, and in my observation, that is why they don't get the results.